Hey, soldiers, the commercial real estate sector could be the next shoe to drop and could plunge us into even rougher economic waters, and also could usher in a new round of bank failures. All right. Now, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they're taking a look at this and saying that there's some weakness in that sector. But let's start it out with Blackstone. Yeah, we reported on Blackstone last month, but their situation has compounded. Before we get into it, guys, go ahead and dolls, go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Become a soldier of finance. Okay, we welcome you. We want to spread this message and really talk about what is actually going on out there. All right, this is a place where all are welcome. Okay, you know, plenty of you know that we don't share the same political ideology, but we get along great in discussing the issues because this is not a platform like the mainstream media that seeks to divide. No, we seek to bring together. We do not seek to distract. We seek to let you know about what we think is going on out here and how we can navigate it. And we do not distract. We don't distract, divide. We don't inflame. We inform. Go ahead, hit subscribe. And let me know you did so in the comments. I will salute you. Thank you to all of the soldiers who are already subscribed. I salute you. Now, everybody has but one mission here, and that is to hit the thumbs up button. Just hit it. Take you a microsecond to accomplish that. That way, the algorithm will say, hey, Soldiers of Finance is something that people want to talk about, something that people want to interact with and listen to. All right, Blackstone. Like I said, we went ahead and we talked about Blackstone in their Blackstone Real Estate Investment Trust. We talked about that last month. And the fact that collection of commercial properties that they had, they actually defaulted on the loan. And that was huge because Blackstone, not to be confused with BlackRock, Blackstone, the private equity company, they're a pretty big deal, all right? But they're having some weakness in this commercial real estate sector. With the beginning of a credit event triggered by the Federal Reserve's aggressive rate hike cycle, which has already claimed at least three similar U.S. banks. Of course, we're talking about SVB, Signature, and I forget the name of the other one, which is actually the first one that it occurred to. I'll put it up on the screen. And initiated an unprecedented surge in deposit bank runs. The commercial real estate market might be the next shoe to drop for the fifth consecutive month. Okay, so we're going on half a year here. Blackstone's $71 billion real estate income trust has restricted redemption withdrawal requests in March. Basically, the people that are invested in the fund are not able to pull money out to the tune that they want to. Now, this is well within Blackstone's right because they got this signed off on by, the SEC, and they put this language in the contract. So it's not like people weren't informed. Whether they made themselves aware of it or not, I don't know. But this is the situation. People are unable to get their money out of this thing. Because Blackstone has restricted redemption withdrawal requests in March, okay, as it did in February and, 3 months prior to that. Last month, investment advisors of high net worth individuals asked Blackstone to redeem $4.5 billion from the Blackstone Real Estate Investment Trust. But the private equity firm only allowed, and this is a very interesting number, they only allowed $666 million to be withdrawn, which is 15% of what was requested. In February, advisors tried to pull out $3.9 billion. So these people are trying to get their money out of this thing because not only, these are high net worth folk. Okay, so they got armies of accountants and advisors that are probably saying the same thing that the JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachs are saying. Now, in fact, these high net worth clients probably have those entities as their advisors. The uh, Blackstone Real Estate Investment Trust is a huge player in the real estate industry, acquiring properties from student housing to apartment complexes and warehouses. The trust was first hit with redemption limits last December. The letter also noted the investment trust reserved the right to limit redemptions to prevent mass outflows. So they are saying, look, we got mass outflows potentially unless we limit it. So guys, we're only giving up 15% of what is going to of what was requested. Now, the collapse and federal takeover of SVB and Signature is generating worries about where the next bank failures might occur. You've driven around your town and you've seen some building going up and it says something like brought to you by or funded by, and it'll oftentimes have one of your local community banks, okay, or regional bank. They do a lot of this type of funding. That is what, is causing some worry here with those institutions with regard to where the commercial real estate market is going. Will they hit smaller banks with high commercial real estate exposure as the CRE sector, commercial real estate sector, faces persistent economic challenges? And why do we continue seeing periodic financial sector crises? Well, because we have piss poor leadership from both an economic and political standpoint in the halls of government. Okay. The shame of it is most of our politicians at every level of government do not understand the economy. And even the ones that do tend to get wrapped up in, the siren song of whatever legislative body they belong to, and they forget what they've learned. Case in point is my neighbor, and I know he's watching this. He's a senator here in the state of Maryland. He's a state senator. He's also a very successful businessman in the accounting field. So who better to know what's going on in the economy than him, right? Well, yeah, you would think so. But then when he goes down and Ben, I love you, but I don't love your legislative record. But when he goes down to Annapolis, he votes contrary to the interest of small businesses here in the district and throughout the state. Concerns over small bank risk gained a lot of attention recently when Goldman Sachs' Richard Ramsden, the firm's leader of the financial group and global investment research, wrote a widely quoted cautionary note. Ramsden said he expects banks to, quote, pull back on commercial real estate commitments, unquote, as they become, quote, more focused on liquidity. So they don't want, real estate is very illiquid, okay? So people get all hyped up about, oh yeah, look at my equity. I've got $100,000 in equity. Yeah, but your equity can only be unlocked usually by a third party allowing you to unlock it. So for example, you got $100,000 in equity. Now you got to get an equity loan. Somebody's got to approve that, right? Or you got to sell the house. Somebody's got to agree to buy it, right? So most of the time that equity in real estate is locked up. It's illiquid, right? And the banks understand that right now, liquidity is, if it ain't king, it's crown prince. Ramsden's worries are especially striking because he was positive on U.S. banks just last year, saying in a Bloomberg interview that the fundamentals within the U.S. banking system today, they're actually remarkably good. This is what he said last year. Well, times have changed. So why the alarm now? It's smaller banks' exposure to commercial real estate, specifically commercial offices, which continue lagging financially due to high and perhaps permanent new levels of working from home. That's right, okay? We got a new paradigm. 2020, we forced people to go and work from home. And now companies are mystified why these people don't want to come back to the office when they have been able to eliminate a commute. I used to commute to DC every day, and it would take me an hour, roughly an hour going. God knows what it would take coming back, okay? And I could control what it took going simply because I got out of the house by 6:55. Literally, if I was at 6:56, it made a hell of a difference. So you are looking at people who are commuting to the office, having to put that time back in to do that. And they're not getting paid for that. Okay, so I was doing, let's just say 2 hours a day commute. Let's just be conservative about it. So that's 10 hours a week. All right, that I wasn't being compensated for. It was just drive time. Okay, so a lot of people are saying, hey, it makes more sense, more efficient for me to be able to work from home. And guess what? I used to work from home in one of my jobs, and I can swear to you, I was much more productive, got a lot more done for the company when I worked from home. No joke. So in any event, downtown offices remain empty or underutilized. Office building values are falling, of course, because if you got a whole office suite, okay, and half of it is filled, then that means that space, you can't demand the same prices that you may have been able to demand, at some other point in time before we went into the whole 2020 stay home and work paradigm. Manhattan office vacancy hits record as marquee LA office tower sells at a 50% loss. So we got this going on in the major markets, the major commercial real estate markets. It's not as if the trade we defined as Big Short 3.0 needed help to plumb fresh record lows, as it has been doing virtually every day in the past month, but it's getting it anyway, courtesy of an unexpected source. While it is common knowledge by now that lower tier and suburban office markets entered the 9 circles of hell, for reasons most recently and succinctly summarized by Chris Whalen, larger markets are experiencing the same. They're experiencing the same thing. All right, and the other thing that is causing this is not just a stay-at-home trend, but also we're seeing more layoffs. Actually, it's funny because McDonald's actually closed its corporate office for 3 days. They'll open back up Wednesday. Wednesday will be, the 5th of April? Because they're doing layoffs. They said, go on home, and by Wednesday, we will contact you, let you know if you still have a job or not. Okay? So look, if McDonald's pares down that corporate staff, and we're talking about the corporate staff, not the frontline restaurant folk. If we're talking about lowering the amount of employees at the corporate level at McDonald's, then they are not going to need any more. They're not going to need more space. Okay, so they're not going to. In a rising economy, you would need more commercial office space. Okay, not less. But McDonald's apparently won't see a need for more space anytime soon. Now, let's just see. They're located in another major real estate market, Chicago, Illinois. That's where their HQ is. All right. So we will continue to monitor it, of course, but this is an outgrowth of a softening economy on many fronts, especially on the stay-at-home work trend and the jobs layoff front, because you just don't need space, guys, if these two factors are playing heavily into this thing. All right, so what I want you to do right now is go and check out this video, The Adults in the Room. Once upon a time, that was people like John F. Kennedy, okay? Even George H.W. Bush, okay? You love him or hate him. The guy was serious, all right? Well-credentialed, okay? Experienced. He hadn't been just a career politician, right? Neither had John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was a bona fide war hero. Look up his story on that PT boat and what happened with that. But we don't have people like that in politics anymore. So we have a vacuum of leadership, and nature abhors a vacuum. So what we have seen is a shift to power migrating eastward. And the adults in the room, right now at least, are in Beijing. That's one adult. United States is at the kiddie table on more and more issues, and it's hurting our economy, hurting our economic potential. Guys, I will talk to you soon.